Harvey Shluchim Lamakim. Saved 12 people.
Yeah.
Okay, Ashnei Masar. We're in the middle of the Midah of the Tomer Devorah, Asher Nishbata Lavoisenu. Just do a quick sikkum of what we learned last week. That it doesn't sound like a Midah of Hashem that He promised our forefathers. So what's the promise over here? So we pointed out that Tomer Devorah points out, and I elaborated on the fact that there are really two concepts that we have to understand. One of them is the concept of Otzer Matnas Chinam, and read a medrash that says that when Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai, Hashem showed him all the oitzaros. This is the schar for treasures, right? Treasure houses. This is the treasure for those that were Magadol Yisoimim. This is the treasure for those that were Bali Tzedakah. This is the treasure for those that learned a lot of Torah. All of the oitzaros were shown to him. And then he saw the biggest oitzer of them all, says the medrash in Parshas Kisisa. And he said, "What's this oitzer?" He says, "That's the oitzer for the rest of us." You know, it's oitzer matnas chinam. There's an oitzer of matnas chinam. So that's encouraging to know that there is such a oitzer in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's case of oitzer matnas chinam. Now, how does that work? We call HaKadosh Baruch Hu vatrin lo min hashamayim. You can't say Hashem doesn't care. All right, if you're Magadol, you say you get from this oitzer, but if you don't do anything good, then you get from that oitzer. So then what's the point of doing the right thing? It puts us in a keneged. It seems to be keneged what the Torah says.
What's the point of having different ones to begin with?
Well, that I can understand because the schar Hashem is very meduyak. So, according to the mitzvahs you take upon yourself, you will get a relevant schar, which makes a lot of sense because obviously, let's say somebody gives himself over for to give poor people medical treatment. So that somehow it's in your neshama. It's important to you in your neshama that everybody should be entitled to refuah, that people shouldn't be sick. So there's an oitzer for you because you're not going to go you're not going to feel comfortable necessarily in the oitzer of the orphanages. This is your comfort place. So it makes sense that HaKadosh Baruch Hu Schusenu is medaktik schus on every person according to what they are and what they do and what they feel is important. This is what you feel is important. So you get your schar from this otzer. Okay, move on. Oitzer matnas chinam is sure. This is for people who felt nothing was important. So where are you getting your schar from? Getting your schar from the oitzer matnas chinam. So what is that schar? What is that schar? It's a schar of nothingness. What is the midah keneged midah in that schar? So we pointed out that you have to have a second operating concept here besides your oitzer matnas chinam, and that's the matnas chinam of schus. That's the concept of schus avos. Schus avos means that sof kol sof. Hashem said, "Heim b'nei Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov," and that's also something that they're hey b'nei Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. So therefore, they get some schar. And that's what we spoke about last week. Still not 100%. Move on. Okay, like we will be nice to people. I told the story of the Satmar Rebbe, right? We will be nice to people because of their fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers, but there's a limit to that too when we're talking about Rishayim. So, but what?
Yeah, it's the Klal Yisrael he's merachim on. It's not just those individuals that are not entitled to not Einim Agunim. It's like a group.
I'm sorry, I don't follow what you're saying.
I was saying just the svara that the matnas kidum comes from the avos. So maybe that answers the diuk that the Rabbi asked at the beginning of last week's shir, that Tam Merachim al Kulam.
As long as they're b'nei avos, yeah.
Because that sort of fits in with that Abraham plucks you out of Gehenna. Also that
right.
concept.
So what I like to do here in the next few minutes is just read the Lamaisa part of this. What does that mean for us? As he starts off, "V'kach yiyeh ha'adam," so too should be a person. The what? What should be so too should be what should be the person? Afim yifga b'rishoyim if you happen to come in contact with Rishoyim, al yisachzer kenegdam ayicharfeim v'chayotze. Don't be an achzer against Rishoyim. Don't shame them in public, uchayotze or anything like that. Elo yirachim aleihem. Rather, you should take, like Hashem does, you should have rachmanas. V'yomar sof heim b'nei Avraham, Yitzchak, v'Yaakov. Im heimenam ksherim avoseim ksherim v'hagunim. V'hamavaza habonim mevaza ha'avos. Because by being mevaza the children, you're being mevaza the avos. And this should be our attitude, that why should I shame fathers for the sins of their children? And you should rather downplay their shamefulness, and be makar of them. Now, this is very early to talk about the kiruv movement. According to your ability. So let me try to explain this, because I think that this is much more. This is not just la la land here. Okay, everybody's good, and they're b'nei Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov. I don't think that's what we're talking about. Let me show you the Shari Tshuva. Rabbi Yoda says, and it kind of spells out this halacha. In Shar HaGimel, Reish Yud Ches. Just to read to you a little bit. Alecha lodas yishana ki oynish ha'avil hamelitz ashem eineni zulasik yitin doifi b'yishirei chet asher yiskufu yitzray. We have to be very careful not to punish a person or yitin dofi, or to talk lashon hara about a person who's a yirei chet, but asher yiskefai yitzray, whose Yetzer Hara got the better of him. There are Jews that the Yetzer Hara got the better. I always think to myself, like people say, you're talking. You find people throughout history that they're speaking this big Torah and moral speech, and then they catch them doing averos, like hypocrite. So hypocrites, they have a Yetzer Hara. Why are they hypocrites? They have a Yetzer Hara like that. This is what they hold, and this is what they believe. But they also have a Yetzer Hara, so the Yetzer Hara pulls them. And Adrabah, sometimes kol gadol b'chavera yitzrei gadol b'badol, like somehow the godless itself can create a Yetzer Hara. Ki min hagai v'darkei lischarit al chatav. If you're going to excommunicate somebody who did an avera, who be'etzem is there just as Yetzer Hara got to them, you're going to mess things up. Why? Ki min hagai v'darkei lischarit al chatav. Because the natural course of events, the teva advarim, is that he will have charata eventually. So you don't push away people with two hands because they're doing something wrong. Certainly, if the person did tshuva, let him in. Let him in, says the Shari Tshuva. However, but somebody who you have established, that he's divorced himself completely of your shemayim. This is his derech. I don't want any part of it. I don't want anything to do with Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I am a Russia. Mitzvah l'saper b'gnusay u'legalois al chatoiv. Says the Shari Tshuva. On that person, it's a mitzvah to be mesaper in his gus. Chavetz Chaim brings this. That's how I know it actually. Chavetz Chaim brings this. It's a mitzvah to talk lashon hara about him. To explain to people what he has done wrong. Now, this puts us in a very, very difficult position, because who knows? Who's going to pass with the Shari?
How do you explain Korach?
Okay. Because there you have a purpose, a toelas, as the Chavetz Chaim explains it, that you're being mechazik those that want to keep mitzvahs by explaining why this person is a Russia. This is a bad person. He goes out on this, and he says that, repeats, if a person is a beta liyasher yizaru bilachet, basically he tries not to do chatoyim, ufa bibi kashlubo, but every once in a while he falls, which I'm sure we're all in that situation. If you have a suffix on the person, you don't know who's going to pass. Give them the benefit of the doubt. It says Yetzer Hara. Meaning the Yetzer Hara is our best friend here, because the Yetzer Hara is saying that, okay, person has a Yetzer Hara, person has a Yetzer Hara, they do something bad. We have to be, Gedolim of all the generations have been able to distinguish between what people do and what they are. So just because they do things wrong, it's not that we have to let that go, but it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't make them bad. It's not the bad people. He says even if it looks pretty bad for the guy, you seem to be paskening l'ra. It's still a suffix. You have to know a vadai Russia before you get into this halacha. However, most of what this person does is bad. It becomes very, very obvious and very clear that he's not a Yer Shamayim. That's when you should be machriya l'kav choiv. Okay, so that's that helps. Comes the Tomer Devorah, and I want to elaborate on this for a moment. Comes the Tomer Devorah, and he says, here's a good way of looking at it. Is he consider himself from the Bnei Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? Does he consider himself a Jew? If he considers himself a Jew, so then you have to say that, well, if he's a Jew, so why is he doing these averas? If he considers himself a Jew, the answer is he's a Kal. Either his Yetzer Hara is big, or more likely in our day, he's simply uneducated. So simply doesn't understand what he's supposed to be doing. So it's this kind of a person. Before here in the Tomer Devorah and in the now we're not talking about how Hashem looks at him. Okay, that's interesting theologically. We're talking about how we're supposed to look at him, and this halacha l'maisa, which I believe many people do not keep, by the way. That I have no tolerance for intolerant people, because what it means is that we're right away packaging what somebody did together with we're establishing by what they did to what they are. And here, the sophisticated person who learns Tomer Devorah, learns the Rabbi Yoina, Rishonim, say that this is not the way to do it. The way to do it is to look at a person. If they do something, they do everything good. It's tzaddik, very nice, it's tzaddik. If they don't do everything right, now it requires first an examination. What is the examination? Where does the examination bring you? So probably nowadays, mostly Tiddush Nishma. If not Tiddush Nishma, Yetzer Hara. He had an education. What's he doing that for? So even assume, you're going to argue with the Chazon Ish who holds that everybody's a Tiddush Nishma because he had a good Rebbe after all. But even if you'll say that he did have a good education, so Tiddush Nishma. So it's very difficult to find the case of a Russia. So if it's difficult to find the case of a Russia, we go back into the klal of Hadanas Chaver l'kav shchus hamakom yitanehu l'kav shchus. So the Tomer Devorah is telling us that here's how to be. The way to be is like HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and have an oitzer matnas chinam, meaning that I have a big heart for people that don't do anything right. I have room for them in my life. That's what the oitzer matnas chinam is. Why? Because of schus avos. So it comes out that the machriya is, here's the cutoff line. Are you still considering yourself b'lei, a ben of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? See, so let me tell you how I see this, because I think this is probably one of the most important attitudinal things that we have to learn. It's just like a moment of sanity in our lives. And what's you get so caught up in the shagas, in the politics, and you lose Torah. I think. And I'm reading it, so I brought the sefer to read it inside. This is not me. This is Rabbi Yoina. I was an out-of-town rabbi for many years. So you had something that you don't have here in Bet Shemesh, and you didn't, at least around here, and you don't have at a place in Monsey. You have like this idea of like 3 times a year Jews, right? Maybe growing up, people, maybe that's what you were. Maybe that's what you knew. So 3 times a year Jews. So what's up with that? Now, if these guys would have come to shul, let's say. I'm not talking now about the halachas they drove. Let's leave it aside for a second. Just a person comes in because once a year you see this guy. How many people? He comes dressed up with a suit and a tie and everything is perfect. And he's like he's got his best Sunday best on because he has yortzeit for his father. So everybody knows he walks in. He has yortzeit for his father. He's not asking to daven for the Yavud. He wants to say Kaddish for his father. And now, let's say our attitude to that person would be, I'm not talking about Eretz Yisrael. Let's say our attitude would be to that person, like, get out of here. What are you doing? You're a Machalel Shabbos. You're an Oichel Tarfus. Your kids are dating shiksus. Like, what are you doing here in shul? So, does anybody think that would be the correct attitude? The answer is yes. A lot of people think that's the correct attitude. But I'll tell you, it's the wrong attitude because clearly this person, if he cut himself off, if he cut his ties with Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, he wouldn't be coming if he had yortzeit. He wouldn't be coming on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. What's he coming for? So the answer is that either his Yetzer Hara, as the Rabbi Yoda says, got the best of him. That's one case, and he just couldn't resist the lures and the pleasures of this world, which is bad. But it's what he does is bad. It's not what he is that's bad. Or B'chal doesn't know anything. He's not a tzaddik shenish, seminal arts, which is more likely the case. So it was on these 3-day-a-year Jews, or these Yartzeit Jews, that a whole Bal Tshuva movement was built. It wasn't built so much on the the communists. It was maybe there's some of those too, but it was built on where it was Kiruv in America, Kiruv in South Africa, Kiruv in Australia, Kiruv in all the places that there's been some success in this, where because Jews were somewhat, they sort of believed somewhere deep inside they believed, and they knew that they were Jewish. They identified as Jews, and there was a kiruv to them. It's a small light that you could turn into a big fire. That's the. So I'll give you like an example of this halachic example. Rav Soloveitchik, like very central to his thinking, was that there was 2 brisais in the history of the Jewish people. There was the bris avos and the bris Sinai, as he called it. By the way, I'm saying Rav Soloveitchik spoke about this all the time. I don't know that anybody argued with this. I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, it's not true," but that's what he said. I think it was a ha'ara that he was zocha to. That there's the bris avos and there's the bris Sinai. It means, if you think about it, what he's simply saying. Of course, he says it much deeper, much more eloquently, and with many rayas than I have. But I'm just synopsizing it in a sentence or two. That there's a bris avos means that I'm makabel the fact that I'm a Jew. I identify as a Jew. This is who I am. It's my family, it's my culture, it's my religion. What are you? I'm Jewish. We found Jews like that were even gave up their lives for being Jewish during the times of the Spanish Inquisition and different times in history. I mean, the Chassid Yavitz, who wrote not the Rabbi Yaacov Haber, the real Chassid Yavitz, who wrote at the time of the Spanish Inquisition. He says, "Be'enai ra'isi," he says, he writes in his Pirush and office, how many times have I myself seen people that didn't keep any mitzvahs, any Torah, anything else, so they said, convert, or we'll kill you. They let themselves be killed. So what's up with that? says the Chassid Yavitz, one of the Rishonim, he says, Rishonim, 14th century, he says, what's going on over there is the bris avos. There's a bris avos. This is what I identify with, and we've all met people like that, even Bizman Hazan. And then there's a starker bris for the insiders, and that's the bris Sinai. Not only HaKadosh Baruch Hu, understand what a covenant is. A bris is a covenant. A covenant is, in our language, a contract, a deal, a clear deal. there's a certain deal that was made with the Avos, and there's another deal that was made on Har Sinai. They're not exclusive one of the other. And I'm not saying to anybody that they shouldn't keep all the stuff that we learned on Har Sinai. Obviously, we should. I'm talking about an attitude now. So the attitude is that we can't be in a situation where we take the people from Bris Avos and say that, well, we're separating ourselves from them completely because there was a bris with them. Hashem made a bris with them, so we are brothers in that regard. And then there's a higher madrega of bris Sinai. Rav Soloveitchik took this lahalacha ad kedei kach, hundreds of nafkaminas lahalacha, but ad kedei kach that he made a distinction in gerus itself. Even in gerus, that obviously a ger has to be makabel kol mitzvahs haTorah, everything, even afilu erev tavshilin, right? Even drabanos, a ger has to be makabel. But let's say he doesn't. Let's say that he or she who's a ger is makabel. Yes, I'm Jewish, and I'm 100% Jewish, and I'm taking on the familial status of Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. So it's not kosher lahalacha in Hilchos Gerim because Gerus is about bris Sinai, but it becomes like some kind of another din, like maybe a ger toshav. It becomes some other kind of a halacha where he wants to say that you can't say even a conservative Gerus, let's say, is a goy gabor. There's something. There's a conversion to something, even though it doesn't. You can't give the person an aliyah because it doesn't have a halachic status. But okay, that's talking about goyim. I'm not talking about goyim. I'm talking about Jews. Jews that are makabel clearly the bris avos without being makabel the bris Sinai. There is a status to them, and the status is a status probably of Kol Yisrael Arevim Zebazeh. So comes to Rabbi Yoda and he explains that here's what you have to know. You have to know, is it, as he puts it, a person has a Yetzer Hara. A person has a Yetzer Hara, so I know that I'm Jewish, and it's like the story, I always tell the story about the fellow who went outside of shul during the break on Yom Kippur, and he's sitting on the steps of the shul, and he's smoking a cigarette. And the rabbi goes out to get a breath of fresh air, and he says, so what are you doing? He's smoking a cigarette. So he said, I forgot. So he said, you forgot what? You forgot that you're not supposed to smoke on Yom Kippur? He said, no, I'm not supposed to smoke on Yom Kippur. You forgot it's Yom Kippur? He says, no, I know it's Yom Kippur over here in Shul. So he says, so what'd you forget? He says, I forgot I was Jewish. I forgot. Forgot. Okay, so like, a person like forgets who they are. So that's not a person who gets pushed away b'shtei yadayim halachically, and it's also not a good idea to push that person away halachically. Like I'll tell you just my if you'll allow me for a moment. Like I think what's going on in this country. Shmuel is coming out of yours already, but I think okay, good. Thank you. So far so good. I think this is such an important. I don't know why nobody's talking like this. Like but I'm talking like this anyway. So take it or leave it. If you take the majority of Jews in this country, putting all politics aside, nobody hates anybody. Everybody considers themselves Jews. Maybe there's a small percentage of places, left-wing communists or something. I don't know what they're. I don't even know about them. And I'm not talking about this cozy thing of a Pintali, and that's not what I mean. I mean to say that most people identify themselves with the Avos, with Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. The Tanyahu gets up and goes, "Haaretz Avotenu." But I don't think he thinks too much before he answers the phone on Shabbat. I don't know. I don't know what he does, but I don't think he's. I wonder even about the ones who we call Rishayim Geburim, if they don't identify with Eretz Avotenu and Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I think there is some identification with it. So, and if not, maybe the Tinuk Shenishma. So you have here, like you have to be able to distinguish between three types. There's Rishayim Geburim that Bedafka cut themselves off from the Avos. We don't want to have anything to like hey, we don't want to have anything to do with it. And then there's everybody else. Now what happens is that because we're so adamant in making distinctions here in this country of I'm this way, that way, I'm a Haredi, I'm a this, I'm a that. So because of all these distinctions, we're taking people that would otherwise be 3-day a year Jews, just like every place else in the world, like these what they used to call when I was a kid, these cardiac Jews. You're taking them and you're pushing them into a corner of Kofer Gemurah. And you've lost any chance of Kiruv. Nobody's ever become firm by yelling at them that I've ever seen. I have a little bit of experience in this. But on the other hand, if you explain to a person that there's more to it than just identifying as a Jew, instead of making fun of it, if there's more to it, then there's a good chance. But I'm not even talking about Hilchos Kiruv here, because even though this is what he says, the Choiv says the Tomer Devorah again. This is the Rebbe and Arizal. We're not talking about like Rabbi Yaacov Haber here. We're doing the Rebbe and the Arizal. So what he's saying is that these type of people that are makabel the bris avos, to use these words, and they're not makabel the bris sinai. So now there's a different halacha, and halacha is to be mesaking, and mesaknam kifi kocho. But again, I'm not even talking about kiruv, which he's talking about. I'm talking about le'aleinu, a kitrug that could come on Klal Yisrael, because the only time, like if you look at Klal Yisrael as a kli machzik bracha, it's a keli that the bracha from Shemayim falls into. The moment you start breaking the keli into a number of different pieces, then you've got a boat with a lot of holes in it. So you can't say, well, I'm on the wooden part of the boat. You're on the hole. You are the hole. What's happening is we're all sinking in this thing together. It's a sinking ship. So there's chas v'shon. I mean, and it's so close to me, because when you hear about the God forbid the terrible tragedies that are happening, not just in Eretz Yisrael but throughout the world, like there's no weeks that we seem to be putter from these besurais rois that we're hearing. So one attitude is to be scared, and the other one is, scared is real, and run away from this country, run away from that country is also real. But there's another part to this whole thing, and that is that, like, are we being overly divisive to protect our own interests? Now, I know in the political world we for sure do this, because you have to. In order to have, again, I ask forgiveness for even talking about politics here, but in order to be zochem to a party in the Knesset, you have to say that I'm different than everybody else. So the division is part. Well, that's a miflaga. That's what it's called. You have to be maflig. So and then, well, okay. So we understood. If we'd all do like if we would all listen to the Brisker Rav, who was no conservative rabbi. Right? It was Kanoi. It was Mamash Kanoi, the Brisker Rav. If you don't, and I learned to brisk. I was Makabbalist clearly. The Brisker Rav said, "Don't make any frum parties. There shouldn't be any frum parties. Shouldn't be. What's it have to do? All you're doing. Let all the frum people vote for X, and then he'll be coming to the frum people for their votes. It's a pasha d'sach. What's the platform now? The platform has to be, in order to get a place in the Knesset. Well, either I hate Haredim. If that doesn't work out for me, I'll hate settlers. If that doesn't work out, I gotta hate somebody. If you don't hate anybody, what am I doing with it? It's not just the politics. And I really want to make a dent in this. I mean, I know I'm talking to a few thousand people, but if you think about even if you make a shul, you make a school. So what justifies me making a new school? The answer is because I'm frummer than the other school. The other one is not doing this chumrah, not doing that chumrah, or they're too frum. So all of this, what happens over here? What happens is that you have to, the takanods have to perforce become ridiculous in order for me to justify my existence. Are you with me on this? It's like, and we're all suffering from this. And not an hour goes by where somebody doesn't ask me, please, call the schools to protect the, hour by hour, and it's all imaginary differences. It's shtus. Well, the father doesn't do this, the mother doesn't do that. It's shtus. I'm telling you, it's mamish shtus. It's such shtus that I'm the wrong person to call, because I don't even know how to relate to it. It's such shtus. I don't understand it's hard. I mean, I pretend, but it's a very difficult thing to do. So my point with all this is that this is what the Tomer Devorah is saying, that there's a mita of Asher Nishbata Lavoseinu. The Midah Asher Nishbata Lavoseinu is let's do a sikum. It's very deep Kabbalistic, but it's very, very real, I think, for us. And that is like, this is Mamash a brisker Midah. The brisker Midah of Rav Soloveitchik, by the way, was a brisker. That's why I think that's where he's coming from. I mean, Rav Soloveitchik. Right? So what he was saying is that, okay, I'm this kind of Jew, you're that kind of Jew. Not so fast, buddy. Not so fast, because a Jew is a Jew. And if you're going to push him away, you're going to get a lot of holes in the boat. So let's first figure out like which bris have you joined, which covenant are you part of, and what does that covenant obligate us in? Covenant is a covenant. So what does the covenant obligate us in? So if a person has become if a person is makabel the whole thing, bris Sinai, so then that's a double covenant. If a person is makabel bris avos, that's covenant A. And covenant A has a huge toikif, probably, by the way, a bigger toikif than bris B. In terms of the heter of Lashon Hara, Monsey Shebra, pushing them away, what the nafkamina is that as the Tomer Devorah says, Machasa el Baino. Anybody want to translate that for me? Machasa el Baino. Downplay the Aveira, Ubasaklam Kifi Kocha. And according to your Kochos, that's how you should try to be Basak in that situation. That's the Avodas Hashem here. So to be sure, there is a difficult halacha of sometimes there is somebody who's completely off, complete Russia. I'm not sure if I know anybody like that. I have to, personally, maybe you do, I'm not sure if I know anybody who's a Russia. In the sense that they completely, here they're betchalik like between Ashkenazim and Sephardim, I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, like the Sephardim, you could have people going to work on Yom Kippur, and women going to work on Yom Kippur in their car and carrying a tillim in their purse. I mean, there is that kind of schizophrenia here.
Yom Kippur online.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, on American level, conservative Jews, Reform Jews, like, I'm not sure that any of them are, like, menatic themselves. Maybe they are, I don't know, that they're menatic themselves from Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. I don't know. Maybe Doran have more experience than me. What do you think? I'm not sure. A little barurly. There are some that are, like, Babish atheists. I don't think I know too many like that. And even them, you talk to them, it's not so pashut. It's not so pashut. Certainly, like the Nazis weren't machalik in this. Like they didn't hold it as chiluk.
No.
They're Jewish. You're Jewish. Like we can't. But if there is such a thing, so then the mitzvah is to be down l'kav chayva. There is a mitzvah to be down l'kav chayva. No question about it. But everybody else. So here the avodah is machasa avodah b'v'sak k'fikaycha. So it means anybody who's makabel. So for them, so what's our personal thing in this? Our thing is that we have to have an oitzer l'schinam. Again, we're not looking for the shlusim. We're machasa avodah. We're not looking for this. Otherwise, what do you do oitzer l'schinam? All right, be nice to him because it's a big baltzadaka.
Right. Rabbi, how about if someone got insulted, right? Who got insulted over here? That we're covering.
Their shamefulness for not keeping the mitzvah, that's shameful. Meaning, like it's. I think what he's saying is the reverse of what the Shari Tshuva is saying. You see, if there's a scandalist, I just give an example. Like we hear a lot of scandals lately. Rabbi does X. Now, I'm not protective of rabbis necessarily, but. Does anybody stop to think, like, well, is he like some kind of a Russia, or is this a Yetzirah? Well, either way, don't let a babysit for your daughter. I'm not saying that like you have to trust the guy, but what I am saying is he a Russia? That it's mutter to what's Toelis is Toelis. So Toelis is. Tell somebody don't use him as a babysitter. Tell somebody you shouldn't have a school. Tell somebody maybe you shouldn't be a rebbe. Like I understand that Toelis, but to bashmutz in the newspaper and over again in blogs and this, I don't know that there's any heter unless he's babish a Russia. I don't know that. I don't think that with the Chafetz Chaim, if he was sitting here, allow this. I don't think so. I don't think so. Unless he's Babish or Rashi, you'd have to find out that the person is like really monatic himself. And I said, I don't care about mitzvahs. I don't care about averos. I have never heard those words from the scandalous that I've gotten to meet them. I never. What they're saying is like, okay, nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. This was a big one, and in fact, excommunicate me in the sense that I always say to these people, so don't be a Rebbe. Open a grocery store someplace. Why do you have to be like? Why do you keep on going into the makom of Yetzer Hara? But it's important to know that it's all Yetzer Hara. So there's
Rabbi, what's the framework of like deciding? Is there an official halachic framework that's saying like, okay, this person we've decided there was a in Torah, this person's a Russian.
Nobody says they're a Russia. Nobody should say that they're a Russia. Do you believe in Judaism or not? Or do you consider yourself a Jew? You believe in Judaism? If the answer is yes, so then there's an issur to talk any kind of lashon hara or Monsey Shemra on them, which is not for direct toelas of the person. Everyone's here thinking about sexual scandal. The person's a ganav. That's a person's a ganav. So is it Russia? Not so sure. But besides for the halachic aspect of this, where we're so quick, here we're from Jews being so medactic on like not opening bottles on Shabbos, but we open all cans of worms on people that are so that it's usher. But besides for that, strategically I've always just personally, just tell you personally, I'm a really small time. I have no delusions of grandeur here, but but if you ask me like who are the models, like who are the role models for Rabbanim, very hard to find, by the way. It's because it's I'd say like let's look currently or in history at the Gedolim that were Gedolim for all Jews. Something very moving. I spoke in Rehovot last night, so on Friday when I was organizing with them. So we're talking about Rav Kook, Rav Simcha Kook, Rav of Rehovot. So somebody said something that was very moving to me. He said that one of the people to show there who called me, he said, he's considered a gadol by all the different miflagot here in Rehovot. So okay, like how do you pull that one? So he's one. Anybody got a second one? I think maybe like I'm just telling you my examples. Like I think maybe Rav Grossman is that kind of a Rav. I think Rav Lau or Rabbi Berel Wein, the father, that kind of a few. Who? Rav Levinson, very good. I mean there are yesh davar kazeh, but I'll tell you in history, surprisingly, who were these Rabbanim? Rav Yosef Chaim Sonnenfeld, Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, Briskirov. No question in my mind. They were Rabbanim for all Jews. Just look who came to the Levias. Everybody came to Rav Shlomo Zalman, and this kind of kippah, that kind of kippah, no kippah. Everybody came. He was. That's what a gadol means. He's holding the lave of the Yam. So again, I don't have any. But if you ask me like who are their role models, it's not about the ones that are cutting out little niches. It's the ones that are the neshama acclaimed. I think that's what everybody here has to strive to be, to this kind of neshama quality. Forgive me for the Musar shoes, but that's just something that's it's on my heart. But that is, like again, let's go to the beginning. Asher Nishbata Lavosenu. What is the midah? We understand the midah of patience, of not losing your temper, of Hashem kel erech hapayim. We understand the midah of chesed. What is the midah of Asher Nishbata Lavosenu? That not to make divisions. Let's take it back to its most base place. Let's take it back to the beginning of all unity, and take it. After that came all of the shvatim, and after that came all of the Hasidim and the Misnagdim and the 100. But at the end, the tzaddik is the one that's a midas hayesod, and the tzaddik can deal up here on the level of yesod, and that's what's going to bring malchus. So it was like b'diyuk, Yosef, so interesting, who was pushed away by all the shvatim. He was the only one who was able to bring them together to one room. And if they weren't all together, now up in Yemen too. Like there has to be a complete achdus. Ironically, he was the one that was able to do that. That's why Yosef was midas hayesod. That's exactly why I was meant to say that. Well, because after you say Malchus, so the Malchus is the Malchus of Mashiach. So that's the only way this is going to happen. So it's a strategic thing, it's a halachic thing, and it's a messianic thing. It's a messianic thing. I like Rav Kook, the Rav Kook, or Rav Kook Zatzal. He was just, when he was in Europe, he was a Rav. Wasn't like, wasn't a political leader. Like, I'll never forget, I remember I was on the plane when Rav Shach, all of a sudden, was nifter. So like there were times I was sitting with Shechilonim on the plane. So I was being master of Rav Shach. I knew Rav Shach. I was master of Shach, Talmud Chacham, Rav Haber Sfar, Rav Shiva Panovich. Like the reaction, oh really? We thought he was just like the head of a political party. It was half that he's Talmud Chacham, but he was a gadol. Same as all. These were just. But Rav Kook was a Jew for all Jews. That's all. So when he came here, I believe it was a davar pasha. I don't think you have to be like a genius or a great Talmud Chacham to understand. Like, what's going on? What's going on with all of this stuff? So like all of a sudden that became a miflaga. So I think get back to the basics of like the Rabbi Levins of this world, which are able to see that we want more for our children, we want more for ourselves, we want that oitzer, we want this oitzer, we want the other oitzer, but there's also an oitzer about Naschir. Okay, thank you for listening. And we'll move to Mita 13th, which is the last Mita.
How does Rav Soloveitch actually deal with the fact that some people didn't do the second bris and they were Ishachar B'Lev?
That's exactly his right. That even those that were about to build an egel were ki Ishachar B'Lev. So even if they weren't kilu makabel everything, somehow they weren't able to be makabel everything, but nevertheless they still were part of that group. That's the bris. The Ishach Levacho is the bris of us, not the brissing. That's the.
Is there a kol shekain for Jews that keep the mitzvahs that are supposed to be filled with?
You would think, right? You would think that would be good.